Schools serve a pluralistic world in which there is a wide variety of opinions about what it is important to learn and how learning best occurs. And they employ people with a wide range of perspectives, beliefs, and interests. It's important to be able to deal with the issues that arise from the inherent tensions in this context in a respectful, collaborative, and effective manner. What we are calling constructive deliberation is a way of doing so. Such a deliberation occurs both formally and informally, on scales from personal to systemic. While the details vary across contexts, the elements and the approaches are similar in all contexts. On this website, you will find a set of 39 brief documents that describe the process. We call this the toolkit and intend it for individual exploration or for discussion by any group wishing to improve its ability to deal constructively with contentious issues. The toolkit also contains 5 brief videos that look at important elements of the process. These resources are based on a conceptual framework that imagines a full-blown negotiation, but the attitudes, strategies, and processes this involves are easily scaled to any situation. They were developed by a superintendent, a BCTF researcher, and a provincial contract negotiator for a series of symposia we offered to Lower Mainland school districts between 2016 and 2020. To hear why we thought this was an important initiative, you can hear our short statements in the why section on this website. We began with the assumption that in any group, the normal discourse includes a variety of perspectives and desires. However, when a disturbance that requires a decision arises, the discourse changes. First, it diverges in a search for informations and options before it converges to a point of decision. We will look at the process of decision-making in terms of 3 phases, each of which will be briefly introduced in this video. Collectively, these 3 phases constitute what we have termed a deliberation. Following the deliberation, there is a decision, and then the decision is put into practice or enacted. The first phase in the deliberation involves dialogue for understanding. By dialogue, we mean a special form of discourse first described by David Bohm in 1992. This dialogue involves non-judgmental listening for the purpose of understanding what others are thinking and why, and revelation to others of what you are thinking and why, without any attempt by either party to change the mind of others. Bohm described this as a freely flowing group conversation in which participants attempt to reach a common understanding, experiencing everyone's point of view fully, equally, and non-judgmentally. During this phase, participants develop an analytic frame that provides a common foundation of understanding in response to 3 questions. What do we know? What do we need to know? And what issues might be contentious? In a large formal negotiation, this may be undertaken by a subcommittee, but in an interpersonal deliberation, it may just mean seeking first to understand before seeking to be understood, as Covey put it. Once the issue is commonly understood, and there is a shared knowledge base in relation to it, the deliberation moves to a second phase, in which the parties look for ways to satisfy both their interests in mutually satisfactory ways. We call this process an integration of their interests. This is a creative phase of collaborative problem solving in which the parties look for ways that their interests can be combined, or elements incorporated, in a way that enables them to achieve something together that they cannot achieve separately, whether that is a provincial collective agreement or a plan for the school's Pro-D Day. Ideally, this will result in a mutually satisfactory resolution of all differences. But since that's often not possible, the remaining points of difference must be resolved through debate in order to arrive at a course of action. A debate is a contest of ideas, but it should not be an argument. It is a respectful assertion of one's interests and the reasons for the course of action that is preferred. Although it ultimately requires choosing between competing proposals, it should provide clarity about each proposal and its rationale in order to enable a fully informed decision in an appropriate manner, whether that is by someone with the responsibility and authority for doing so, through a staff vote, or by mutual agreement. The conceptual framework for deliberation is not a model or a procedure that one can simply follow, but rather a set of ideas about decision-making that must be applied differently in each unique context. It is unlikely to occur in the clean, linear fashion illustrated, but rather in a back-and-forth manner that combines the modes. While looking for a creative response that integrates interests, it may be necessary to go back and clarify some understandings or establish some important facts. And during a debate about two conflicting proposals, it may become clear that there's actually a way to combine them. Eventually, discourse must lead to a decision. But that's not the end of the process. A decision means nothing until it's put into action. Whether this can be done successfully and sustainably depends on the quality of the deliberation process, the wisdom of the decision, and whether all parties feel that they have been fairly treated in the process of making it. So that's an introduction to the conceptual framework for constructive deliberation. Remember that it's not a model, but rather a way of thinking about resolving conflict. The toolkit includes specific strategies for going about it, but success also depends on your attitude and skills. All of this is discussed in the toolkit documents. If you want to dig a little deeper, there are several ways to do so. The Constructive Deliberations article on the website provides a good introduction that complements this video and includes many of the key toolkit documents in its appendices. The 5 toolkit videos are an easy way to add depth to this introduction. And the 39 documents in the toolkit can all be downloaded for your own reading or for use with a study group or committee that is interested in maximizing its effectiveness. Finally, if you would like to contact one of the developers, you will find our email addresses on the title page to the Constructive Deliberations article.